proc it now. Gonna proc it now. By Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. Proc it Jackson Aurelia. T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and casts from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like Brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like your Resi in the bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and as you see, we are rushing around to try to get this podcast together. If you are watching live, I should say. I don't have a collared shirt on. I got my Red Dead Redemption shirt going for this week. Wrecker's got the beard from the bottom up look.
We're in his lap.
That's the best. That's my best angle.
Well,
right there.
I would really think we're either going to be
It's a
looking
good
at
angle,
his
I like
lap or we're going to be in his lap. So,
Well, he's carrying us.
I could just do this the whole podcast. I'm like,
oh, I feel so coddled and cradled. And loved. Sean is here.
Hi, I'm right here.
And DeClaude in his lovely beard as well.
Hey guys, beard.
That's right. We are the beardiest podcast.
The beardiest League of Legends.
Right. Sorry.
Adam, you need one of those crocheted beard hat things.
I do. I really do. Oh, God. All right. So we're going to actually jump right in to talk about stuff. They actually had Days Untold. They got Days on before we got Days.
I know, right?
Incredible.
So they had Days on. They talked everything about supports. Next week, I'm actually joining them to talk about top lane. So go check that out at youtube.com/T-Force podcast. That will be up it comes live for Wednesdays, gets cut by Wednesday night, or it comes out Thursday mornings whenever they're able to get it cut out. So do check. Get better at this game. If you're brand new to 30, that's what you're going to be looking for. Not to mention, we have the LCS Rundown live every Sunday. They're going to be doing a Super Week special this week, going live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 2-hour podcast.
It's going to be a lot to talk about with this Super Week.
Oh, especially with like SK going, oh, wait, I need to zip it just in case no one's listening.
Quiet. Save it for the rundown.
Gambit and SK and woo! Lots of good stuff. So yeah, check that out. And the OzLL guys have been doing tons of good work. They have a producer over there now. And we have the 2 producers, Brock and Lanzifer, who have been doing a fantastic job with this podcast. Like, they've taken a ton off my plate, and I can't thank those guys enough for putting everything together. So please go check out the Brother and Sister podcast.
They work fast, too. They do a good job.
They do.
Lanzifer has the podcast out. Sometimes like an hour after the podcast is done, and I'm like, dude, I can't get it out this quickly. Like, we have to keep with the Wednesday and Friday schedule. Slow down. But let's go ahead and move into sponsors. As you guys know, the Trinity Force podcast is sponsored, and we have been for the past couple months, but this time we have a new sponsor, and it's a really cool backpack. So while you guys can hear me talking as I walk away, if you guys are watching the stream, and I would hope you are, we have this awesome backpack called the Pocket Aces backpack, and I took my laptop out of it again. It's your the most versatile backpack you're gonna find, right? It's got a American flag water bottle. It has a surge protector power strip in it. It's got a look at this. Right there. It's got it's a USB cable. It's got a cell phone charger in it. Like, you can take this to school, to work, wherever it is. Charge your laptop, charge your phone, charge whatever you need, and take care of all that with one plug. So now you don't have to bring all of it and stick all that stuff inside your, pull it all outside your backpack. It's all contained inside the Pocket Aces backpack. And I can't sing enough praises for how awesome this thing is. So if you guys are going back to school, you should totally look into them. And if you want to look into them, it's bit.ly/TForceBag. And there's a special Trinity Force podcast promotion using the code BACK2SCHOOL with the number 2. You can get this normal $200 backpack for $119.
Wow. I like the lunch pocket in the front that's separated and waterproof and everything. Yeah, you put a little thermos or your sandwich, your apple, because I would throw mine just in my bag anyway.
You put your granola in here?
I spilled some granola in my laptop bag the other day, actually, because I didn't fully seal it. and I dumped
hey,
it in
somebody
there.
link them in chat so they can take out go to bit.ly/T-Force bag. No, but I don't, I can sit here and show you guys. Please go check it out at youtube.com/T-Force podcast. You can see it. But what's really cool, and you can go check it on the website, but what's really cool about this bag is it's really sturdy, and there's a pocket for everything. Not to mention, when you buy one of these, it also comes with the portable charger for your cell phone. Sorry, I'm really far away. I'm looking at the backpack. But like you can grab this, go to class if you don't find a charger, and go back and then go to your next class and charge it if they allow you to bring backpacks in there. It's such a versatile backpack that it allows you to, well, like I said last week, get the girl of your dreams. So
I think really that portable charger is the best part of that, though, because when you're in class, those
Or at
games
the
on your phone
library.
just kill the battery. 'Cause those games just kill it.
Yeah. Well, there's a cell phone charger in the backpack. You can plug it into the wall, in the power strip in the wall, and then plug your phone in, and you can be sitting there playing on your phone just like that. And then while you're walking in between classes, you can keep it charged with the portable charger that's in that backpack. Why wouldn't you buy it? So that's that. That's Pocket Aces, guys.
It's pretty cool. It's a good idea.
All right.
I like the little power strip in there.
The power strip is probably my favorite part of that. So you guys go check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to tweet at us, email us. I'm happy to answer anything. And this is actually made by one of our listeners. That's why he came over to us. He said, hey, can you help us? This is his new startup company. So he's really just trying to get out there and find avenues to get you guys his awesome products. Because, hell, when I was in school, I wish I had it. But that does it for the sponsorships and everything this week. We're going to move right into patch 3.14 discussion.
Let's do it. 3.14 or 3.14. Yeah.
3-point pie.
No matter how you say it, it's all the same.
Reverse pi.
So,
4.13 actually.
what's really funny about this patch is we talked about most of the changes on episode 180, which was last Wednesday's episode. That we looked over at the patch notes on Surrender at 20, and we went through a lot of these, but we're going to kind of recap and touch on them again. But starting off, this Elise change that's on the first note of the patch is something I feel like we're going to talk about for a little while.
So basically, for Elise, and she's had such, I don't know, she's gotten so much exposure in the pro scene since she's like one of the top 2 picks. They're trying to take away from her strong dueling power, objective control, utility ganks, and they're hitting her cocoon kind of hard, whereas they're like reducing the width from 70 to 55. So it's going to be much harder, or at least as long as you're mostly accurate, it's going to be harder to land your cocoon to get that stun off. And there apparently is a bug that was providing vision longer with cocoon than the stun duration. So it's going to take away a slight amount of visibility, which was always interesting, especially if you could get like a blind cocoon into a bush and somebody was there and you could see them for a bit.
See, this seems more like a quality of life kind of change, because it did seem like I've seen cocoons where it was to the right of me and then it instantly moved, like it homed in on me because I was outside of its hitbox and it hit me. So I think this is more quality of life. The repel change is the one that kind of hurts her. It's the nerf. That's the targeted
cocoon
nerf
change
right
is
there.
going to hurt a lot of people. It's kind of like when they've changed. I wanted to say they changed the damage on her Q or shifted the damage around in her kit a bit. Do you remember when that happened?
You just got to be better at hitting your
ago?
skill shots.
But when that's what I'm getting at is they shifted damage around in her kit, 3 or 4 patches ago, whatever it was, and when they did that, we could watch like the Korean players who played her a lot. They were underestimating the amount of damage her Q execute would do, and they'd miss smite Baron or they would miss kill somebody.
Right.
So I think this is going to happen the same thing. They're going to play her competitively, and they're going to miss a lot of skill shots. And again, this entire patch is a competitive patch.
Yep.
It is preparing for Worlds, but that repel range, that's pretty big.
925 to 750.
Right.
Yeah, and it calculates from the edge of Elise to the target. So that gives it a little bit of extra range to make up for it, but they nerfed it overall. So almost 1,000 range down to 750.
Which they said it's roughly 825 range if using.
So it's like 100 range nerf.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like Lucian's range nerf that was so horribly brought down that they had to buff everything else and make him OP. This is just 100 down, but it's going to make a huge difference. Jumping to those wraiths, jumping over the wall, engaging from far away, etc. So this is the one that's going to mess people up the most when playing Elise.
Yeah, the biggest difference really with that is just like running away from a like failed attempt at a gank or when you get caught out and trying to get to a jungle camp. You're gonna have like another extra couple steps you have to take, and it gives the other person more opportunity to get some damage on you.
I'm just waiting for that failed gank or that gank up top where people were using the minion wave that was coming to them to get in and get out really quickly, and they can't get to it to.
Yeah, you'll see Repel and then go right back down where she was. You'll see Cocoon's whiff. And
oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I do feel like a lot of those skill shots, though, need to have their width reduced.
They're forgiving. A lot of them are forgiving. Like Mundo's Cleaver is a huge example of that. Yeah, and then they fixed it. But I think they've been doing a pretty good job trying to make up.
Nidalee and Thrasher are the big culprits right now.
Right.
It
used to be Nidalee even larger before they changed her spear width. That thing could take out half your health by not even being near you if you were just in the wrong spot.
It grazes your beard. It doesn't take anything off, but you die.
Dead.
It's enough.
We did talk Evelyn changes. Wrecker, you actually were here for the patch 4.13 changes.
I was. I do.
So do you remember what you said about Evelyn and these changes?
Pretty much takes a little bit away from her early power. It gives her the ability to build some damage, rather than just going like one damage item and then going into it a tanky route. She now has the opportunity to actually continue to deal damage throughout the mid game.
Yeah. And she gets a bigger ratio on her ability power, which helps her late game. So late game targeting for her improvement.
Mid and late game, yeah. But that's all that's said about her, because like that's a pretty straightforward change.
Yeah, you have to remove that early game damage that she had, because it's too easy for her to gank up to level 6. We'll say up to about 10 minutes. She has a really easy time to gank because nobody's going back before, we'll say, 6 or 7 minutes. And even when they do, it's not like they can only buy one pink ward, so she has multiple avenues to make it through to a lane.
And let's be real, in solo queue, they're probably not buying a pink ward till 15 minutes,
if at all. And the only person buying a pink ward is the support, and they're putting it in a bush somewhere that doesn't matter.
Yep. Instead of the mid getting it on their first back, putting it in the bush leading to the jungle.
Right. So yeah, just remove some of her early game damage makes her easier to deal with. And when you remove damage, usually you have to move it around. I never felt like she was a huge problem though. That's why it's interesting to see why they're making these changes to her.
Yeah,
she's one of those champions where it's like she's so kind of specialized that if you're really good with Evelyn, then you do amazing. But if you're just shitty with Evelyn, you kind of just bring the team down.
It'd be like me playing Evelyn then.
Yeah. Because, I mean, yeah, it's great you can gank out of stealth, but if you don't know any of the ranges that people can see you from stealth or anything, then you don't know how to engage. And it's way different than engaging with other junglers because you're going to initiate from the back rather than the front.
Sure. Yeah, I couldn't play Evelyn in the jungle. I play farm junglers, or ones that can just kind of walk out and gank when they please, because my jungle knowledge is very low. Which is kind of funny because I'm sitting here with 3 junglers. No supports. Well, we have a support. We have an AD top. We have a jungle mid. We have a top jungle. Look at that. Yeah, look at all the jungles.
I love jungle. We talked about Hecarim.
Gragas.
And Gragas as well. We talked about mana to drunken rage. Bam.
Right.
That's pretty much it.
If you guys didn't listen to 180, or if you're back on and you're listening to this one.
We could do a quick recap, I guess.
Q, making it so you can't clear as quickly by reducing damage to 70% damage to minions. W now costs mana. The damage reduction doesn't last as long, and the cooldown, but the cooldown has been shortened on it. So, which is fine. It
needed it. It needed the mana cost, in my opinion.
Adding 30 mana at all ranks, but reducing the cooldown is fine because it was just free. It was free sustain in lane. He was literally picked in every single OGN match today.
Really?
And
it's just a lot of free power.
And he showed up in LCS and bans, at least in ban prison too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't wait until people just roll through worlds with Zilean so much. Like I was watching today, and Zilean just wrecks so much face right now. I guess we can kind of talk about him a little bit. I know it's not patch notes related, but if you aren't
he got a little bit of a patch.
Zilean, you need to be learning him right now.
We could skip to him. He got a. It says technically a Sivir buff. Fixed a bug where time bombs explosion ignored spell shields. So now it doesn't. Now it gets eaten by the spell shields. But still, Zillion was a. If you were watching the LCS and you had Twitter open, there were so many of that Zillion can't die GIF going on. Can't kill Ian a Zillion.
Really? Can't
It's
kill
like,
Ian a
yeah,
Zillion?
it's Zillion doing like the
Wow.
sunglasses like CSI, and then he does his dance because he comes back after he should be dead. Check it out. Overpower played him a couple times, and yeah, it's interesting to see.
Like one of the first times I saw him was when Faker played him, and then it drew a ban in the next game. But Zillion is so
yeah.
awful right now because it's the Athenes and in this patch there is a Chalice of Harmony nerf if I remember correctly, and having the magic reduced or the magic resist reduction allows his bombs to do more damage, which allows him to stay longer in lane. That the whole every tier gets affected by that point.
He's
or every
already a
point in the
huge
game.
bully
But
early
it makes him
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now he can alt an 80 carry, and the 80 carry just spawns right back if it gets caught. He can alt the person. He can alt and Shyvana who is diving in, or anybody who's diving in, and they just pop right back up. Like, oh, Lee Sin, you dove in and kicked somebody, but hey, you're back alive.
With a very
Yeah.
significant
And
amount
then
of
after-
health, too.
And then
Yes.
after that
Oh, yeah.
team fight's over, you just keep spamming rewind, and it's ready for the next team fight. So
Yeah, it's a utility. He just fits so perfectly in the utility
Mid
mid
meta
meta that
anti-pick
we
comp
have.
as well. If he's around and they get a pick on somebody and he managed to get in range, boom, could be the difference you need. It's good. How do we get on Zillion, by the way?
Because
We
I
were
just
on-
mentioned Zillion being played. I mentioned
Oh, 'cause
Gragas,
Gragas.
Ben,
Gragas,
Zillion.
yep.
So
So-
there are 30 champion changes in this patch. If you didn't
Yeah,
know
so
that.
we should blaze
Huge.
through these.
Well, we're blazing.
Yeah, we are.
You
Hecarim?
could you say we're on the warpath?
Oh, good transition. Well done. Well done, sir.
And for
I'm
those
proud.
of you who do not know, warpath is Hecarim's passive.
Go on with it. Let's see
Okay,
what happens.
so they Hecarim's passive. Hecarim now gains bonus attack damage equal to it's a 5% increase.
It's an insignificant buff.
Yeah, insignificant.
Oh, hey, and Rampage had a mana cost reduction by 8 mana max rank.
So now he can
Congratulations,
get-
Hecarim, you still do nothing.
He gets
Yeah.
like 3 more rampages off before he goes zoom.
And still does
Great.
nothing.
Yep.
He gets 3 more Rampage. Yeah, he's cute Rampage.
Well, I guess
it's
Hecarim's
just
not
such a
on the
weird
warpath.
name for that ability. He swings the scythe and it's called Rampage. Like,
And you would think an ability called Rampage would just, like,
do
kill a lot of
damage.
I
people,
think
but
his
no.
ult would be called Rampage.
Yeah.
That seems more like a rampage.
I think his ult would be called Stampede.
Why
There
would
you go.
isn't his E called Stampede?
I don't know.
God, we suck at this.
Where's Dom when you need him?
Seriously.
Well,
I filled in for Dom, and I don't know all the spell
His
names. and
his
stuff.
E is devastating charge.
that's it. That's
Oh,
it.
I made a pun about that. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Of course you did.
Of course you did. What
I
a
did.
surprise.
I should have known
That's funny. All
to
right.
get so soon. But anyway.
Jack's change in this patch. It's just Jax finishes attacks animation a little bit more quickly than it did before, which just makes his last hitting more smooth. If you ever played Jax, you would notice that once you get the groove down, it's pretty easy to last hit. But he has this weird wind up phase with it, and
Yeah,
that
you have
needs
to
be
get
fixed.
into you have to like pick up the tempo on, or at least figure out the
he's got a
timing
long
for it. It's
animation,
annoying,
'cause
really.
He picks
Yeah, he
up
does.
His lantern, pulls it all the way back, and then swings it back down. And if you don't have attack speed, it takes a you can easily cancel it because you think it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
last or it's not gonna last as long as it does. So it's it's a quality
Quality of life.
fix.
Use your lane.
And thank God Lee Sin eating nerfs.
It's about
yeah.
time.
These are pretty heavy-handed for his late game.
Well, okay, so general nerfs right now, base health regen has been increased from 6.95 to 8.95.
Yes! Base health regen.
I know how much you love your base health regen. But safeguard shield duration is now only 2 seconds instead of 4.
That's a big early game
God,
change.
That's a huge
That's
early
huge.
game change.
But then cripple.
And
This is the
oh
big
my
late
God,
game one.
Cripple no longer reduces attack speed.
Yeah, that was the
Never skip
ADC.
leg
And my
killer.
big gripe with this, my big gripe with this was that was also a huge thing of what made Lee Sin so good in early duels as well. If you could just get like a level 3 E off, even if you didn't have your Q combo up, you could survive long enough, or at least like be enough of an annoyance where somebody's attack speed, because they don't have any, is already slow as hell. They get like 3 off for every 5 you get.
Yeah, that's the thing is like you get the extra autos.
Yep.
And he's already gaining, every time he uses a piece of his ability, he's gaining autos more quickly than the enemy is, because he gains attack speed off his passive.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with this much mobility and utility and damage and everything that this champion can do, why can he do more? Like, why can he reduce attack speed while he's also reducing movement speed? So if you get hit by E, you do nothing. Like, you just hope that you have enough attack speed to make up for it.
I like it. I like these nerfs. I can deal with it. And they didn't nerf his mobility, so that's his main
He's still
strength,
going to
in my
be,
opinion.
yeah. Yep.
So he's still going to be running around kiting your ass, when you're like, oh, he's almost dead, I can get him, and then he's all over the fucking place, and then he's gone. So, still play him. I'll probably still ban him just because I hate his mobility, but
I don't even ban him anymore. I ban Italy now because
Still ban him.
oh my
Like
God, Italy is a good ban.
as good as that cripple is, he's still amazing.
He
He's
is.
still going to be played.
Yep.
yeah, you just you still get slowed if you get hit by E. You just don't have enough attack speed. And honestly, if you didn't play Lee Sin all the time, you didn't notice the attack speed change.
That's
And I
probably
mean,
true as well.
if you're playing Lee Sin in the jungle, the cripple doesn't do shit in a gank. You're already in an advantage because you're 2v1.
Yep.
If you played a marksman against Lee Sin, you noticed it, and you hated
Well,
it.
yeah. But I mean, like, as far as the early game ganks go, this change isn't going to affect him too much.
Yeah, he'll still rape and pillage. And speaking of raping and pillaging, Olaf. He's
I
the
had a
next one
feeling
in
that
line.
was going to be a transition. I'm just going to let the clock do the transition. So yeah, it's just
We already talked about him briefly, but pretty much they just made him
nice
better
buffs.
slightly.
Yeah, buffs across the board.
Buffs all around. Q, undertow, cooldown reduced to 7 seconds from 8. More undertows, meaning he'll heal himself a little more. So they're
Vicious
saying,
strikes, you now gain 2% of your missing
get Essence
health.
Reaver.
1% per 2% missing.
Yep, you get 1% for 2% missing rather than 1% for 2.5. Just more nice buffs. These aren't
Slightly
going
more
to
healing.
bring him into competitive play. Even with the Ragnarok change down to 100-second cooldown,
Early game better.
he would need the passive back on Ragnarok to make him the old plus damage passive. Or no, it was plus armor
The
magic
old-
resist.
Yeah.
It was resistances, so
If he ends up coming back into the game, I think it's going to be out of the jungle with the Feral Flare.
Even then, to competitive play, we've only seen that like Rengar is like the only person that can roll with a Feral Flare because he's able to stealth and jump out of anywhere to get stacks.
Yeah.
So he's getting stacks off of I wouldn't consider guaranteed ganks, but higher percentage chance of getting a kill or assist than Olaf gets.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I mean,
know. I'd like
Olaf
to
would be
feel
a
out.
heavier farmer.
I want to feel how much better that W is. I'm curious to see. I'm gonna mess around with him a little
I
bit.
bet you don't notice it.
That's what I really
It's
think.
going to be
Bet you do on
small.
your first clear.
I bet the first clear is going to be decent.
Yeah,
it's going to
in the
be
jungle. That's what I mean.
Ah.
That's where you'll feel it.
yeah. Definitely.
I know you liked him top, and he was your OP pick for top.
I could still use him top. I could still wreck players.
He's
and
really
diamond
good
players
to
all
be
day.
aggressive against people who don't know how to fight him. But he's really gimmicky in regard to where you're just kind of hoping to overwhelm them early and like get them so tilted that they're terrible for the rest of the game.
Well,
but he
it's like
doesn't.
Master Yi top. He's just gimmicky.
The difference is Olaf doesn't transition into late game as well as Master Yi does.
Definitely not.
You can't give Olaf one kill. Like, you can, but he can't just run into a team and win because of resets. Like,
Right.
Master Yi becomes untargetable after one kill because it just snowballs into more Qs. And Olaf, what do? I'm running at you. I'm running at you. Everybody run away! Oh, no!
It takes one lantern, and you're done.
Yeah, everybody knows where
Damn
you're
it.
going when you're going there.
Right. And we saw this in LCS. Shen, he just fixed a bug. It was just a bug fix. Like, nothing really to talk about.
But
Shyvana,
he's back.
Burnout, Dragon's Descent, Flame Trail now applies damage every 1 second rather than 0.75 seconds. My thing with Shyvana, I don't think she's a good pick right now anyway. I think with AP top laners making a comeback in the top lane because of the masteries and items and whatnot being nerfed, Shyvana, a good pick. She's a solid pick, I'll say. She's a solid pick. You can't go wrong with picking her. But I think between Lulu, Gragas, Lissandra, Rise, and others, that they're better picks than she is right now.
And she can be manhandled a little bit by those champions.
Yeah, those champions, which are better picks, are great against Shyvana in lane.
Yep. So.
And the reason we're picking these champions is because they all translate in the late game in one way or another, either with damage or more CC
or
than
utility.
What Shyvana brings. And utility, no matter what we go through in this game, like the only reason that like Mundo and Shyvana were such big picks for a while was because of masteries and the itemization. They could just jump in, stay alive, and cause disruption. But now that they can't do that as easily as they could before because they're not as tanky or they're not as durable as they were, we see the utility coming back into flavor.
It was just incredibly easy for like a Shyvana or a Mundo to go into a team fight in front of their team, get the enemy's utility out, and then your team just rush in after the utility is on cooldown, and it's like, okay, we're just going to clean up.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't stop somebody, now they've made it so. Well, they changed like Randu and Zoman, and you're no longer getting the attack speed debuff on that,
which was really big for she couldn't slow you down by herself anyway.
Mm-hmm. So now you can attack her and you can kill her.
Yep.
So that's why she's not being picked. If anybody,
attack and get away from her rather than kiting yourself as she eventually moves towards you.
I said attack speed. I meant
slow.
Slow. I said attack speed. I meant slow.
You're good.
Yeah, that's the main problem is sticking to you.
Yeah, I miss Shyvana. I didn't like the meta, but I miss Shyvana.
All right, we're dragging out her changes too much. Let's move on to Kale.
Yeah, there was one little change, and it's hardly anything.
Well, no, it's one of those things where people need to understand why these little champions are coming back into flavor anyway.
I agree.
So we can talk, because we're going to get down to Lissandra for a little bit. I do think she's going to be coming back. Kale is making kind of this weird resurgence in the top lane. She'll probably make a change now. Ability power ratios, they're just reverting stuff from 411. Ease Righteous Fury ability power ratio went from 0.2 to 0.25. But intervention, the cooldown is now 190-80 from 110-95-80.
I just want to clear up, they did not revert anything. They put these numbers in between what they were before and what they were after they nerfed it.
Yeah, you're right. They felt they were too heavy-handed.
They're modifying it.
Yeah, which is funny to me because Kale, I still think intervention is on too short of a cooldown. Like I like the 110. I wish it was 130, 120.
I was playing Kale the other day, and honestly, the intervention change wasn't really even that noticeable.
Yeah, you still have it in fights. Even before when it was just like, what was it, 60 seconds or whatever, you had it up before you even got into a team fight. So it's not like you were getting into a team fight as it was coming up or something. You just always had it.
Yep. You still do. It's still 80 seconds right now.
Yeah.
And because you're building cooldown reduction on her for her E, so you can have more Righteous Furies available, so you can clear waves more quickly. And you can do more AoE damage. So intervention now becomes a 60-second cooldown. And obviously, 1 minute from in between fights is not enough. You're looking at 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep. So it's up anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
It helps for those picks. Again, it helps those pick comps where in between the fights, somebody comes out to get a pick on either an ally or Kale herself. Maybe it'll be up now.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, it gives you a little bigger window where, like, where you do bait out Kale's ultimate, you can start a fight. You have a little bit more grace period to do that.
See, I think with Kale, they should hit the cooldown early and mid, because right now it's 190 and it was 110.95. I think it should be like 130 or 120 and then 100 rather, because those are the points in the games where Kale really starts turning fights. Like early, it's the ganking up top or ganking mid. Mid, it's the team fights. Late, I don't mind if your ultimate's up every fight. That's fine. Everybody's ultimate should be up in between every fight. Unless, you're doing fights within minutes of each other because you just took Baron and now you're pushing down. But for the most part, someone takes Baron, goes back, and now you're fighting again. Your ultimates are back up. That's fine. But in mid and late game where your fights are extended between 2 or 3 minutes, there should be a period there where you are crippled.
Definitely.
And, LeBlanc, quality of life changes here. Distortion, the mana cost reduction.
That's probably, like, something she needs, especially given that, like, she lost her silence. She needs to be able to trade more often if she's not trading as hard.
Isn't it hilarious how she lost her silence and she dropped completely out of favor?
Yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing is, like, if you looked at her win rate with, like, the high elo, her win rate didn't really drop at all.
People are still blowing people up.
Yeah, like, she's still LeBlanc.
Well, and the other thing is, too, distortion is, as soon as you cast it, you can hit it again and teleport back to the silence. If you're just using it to harass and run away, isn't too huge against a really squishy enemy mid laner.
Yeah.
I like the silence change on her. I don't feel like she's in a bad place now. I like that there's counterplay, so you need to give her something to compensate for removing a piece of her kit that was such an integral part of her kit.
Definitely.
And, giving mana back is fine. So.
I mean, being able to trade more often is generally how you counteract trading less hard or less favorably.
Well put.
I don't really see too much of a improvement with this just because it didn't change that much early game. 5 mana, 10 mana per cast.
Well, you usually max W first. Keep that in mind. So by level 3, you're doing 10 less mana.
Right, because you were maxing W so you can clear and roam.
Yeah, it's for the farming.
Yeah, by rank 3.
Yeah, rank 3, not level 3, sorry.
Yeah, it's level 5 or 7. That's level 5.
That would be level 5.
Level 5.
No, level 5 is 2, level 7 is 3.
Okay.
Which is still early game.
Yeah, still early enough. But then, whatever.
But then you also have, like, if you reduce her mana cost, you also have to consider, like, her itemization might be going from building a chalice to keep her mana up to building straight damage and bursting someone harder.
Yeah,
but this amount of mana...
And see
I don't think this is going to be the, oh my god, she's back change.
Right. But like
they're dipping their toe because she's kind of walking the blade's edge here. She could either be OP ban prison or, to suck and no one picks, so...
Yeah, I don't know how much like experience you have actually playing LeBlanc. Like I've played a lot of LeBlanc, and this amount of mana is actually really big on her, especially since she almost always goes 2, sometimes even 3 Doran's rings.
Yep.
And that's what you use to farm as well, so...
Yeah, and if you're clearing 6 minions with 1 spell, and the spell costs 10 less mana, and you can use it more often.
Right. It comes back... well, to Claude, I'll look at you and tell this to you. It comes back to our Braum discussion, 7 episodes ago or 6 episodes ago, where we said, his Q costs 30 mana and you can spam it 6 or 7 times in lane. If you would have changed that to 40 mana, it brings it down by like 2 casts in lane.
Right.
Because you have regen and stuff. That's then I think that's what Record's getting at here.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than it looks just by the numbers.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to Lissandra.
Here's the one Adam's been waiting for.
Yeah, I like Lissandra a lot, and I think that she has been viable in the top lane now that changes have been made. She just either need that extra push or she need people playing her to get to that point. She's a tricky champion to play because you have to have really good positioning, and you only get one shot. Like, if you E in, you can't fuck up. You have to E at the proper time. So she's a tricky champion to play, but Q Ice Shards, the cooldown, has been decreased. So now you can spam more damage. Basically, they want to make her so you weren't a 1-and-stun, bot. You weren't a stun bot. They wanted you to give you a little bit more damage by spamming Qs.
Right. Not rise level, but still pretty spammable.
Right. But the big one here, though, is that Frozen Tome slow. Increase the 30, 45, 75% at max rank. So if you go in there and E or R yourself, you slow everybody and do the damage.
You're withered after its max effect, pretty much.
They basically doubled the slow.
Yeah,
that's big.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And
that's what she was used for, is that initiate.
So if you are somebody and they're in the middle of a group, everybody gets slowed. Or if you E in, then R yourself, you slow everybody around you.
Yeah.
Now... I see which one you missed, and that's the Ring of Frost. Ability power ratio was reduced.
I don't have a problem with that change now. When we were reading this patch notes, I don't believe the Frozen Tome slow reduction was in there at that time. I think it was a different change. Because we had a kind of extensive conversation about Lissandra, but I think this actually brings her back into favor quite a bit. Because I think at max rank is 75% slow. If you're around Baron or you're at a tower or whatever it may be, this brings back the utility AoE comps a little bit. Now, I'm not saying a Moo and Curse of the Sad Bullet Time and stuff is going to come back, but now you can play her with the cooldown reduction of ice shards and the increase in the slow on her R out of the top lane, and potentially trade or bring enough utility to the team to make up for the fact that you lost a little bit of AP ratio in your W, because you weren't maxing W anyway.
Right.
No,
it was utility ability anyway. So
yeah, I like the Lissandra changes, and I'm really excited to see what people can do with that 30, 45, 75% slow.
Top lane, have your Ori mid, and then deliver that ball.
Oh my god! Could you imagine the ball
slowing everybody? Boom.
Yep.
That is disgusting.
So this is why we're gonna play Lissandra, Orianna, Rengar, Tristana, Nami.
Just give everybody a fucking opportunity to deliver Orianna's ball in the game, or what?
No, you have disengage or engage with Nami. You have the hyper carry in the game, and then you have ways to deliver the ball or disrupt people, because you could ball 3 and ult somebody with Lissandra. Like, this team comp is OP. I'm telling you. It's just really squishy. So if you get fucked early game, good luck.
Yep.
All right, Lulu. Killing support Lulu even more, because if you guys go check out ggchronicle.com, real quick plug, GG Chronicle has a infographic on Lulu for week 10 of the LCS, and she has the highest win rate out of top lane, and she has like a 3% win rate or something stupid out of bottom lane.
I don't know.
That's not at all surprising.
You say this kills support Lulu even more?
Yeah, because the Whimsy movement speed buff duration has been decreased, and you weren't maxing Whimsy before.
I'm retarded. I read that backwards.
Yeah,
you're right.
Well, she was only picked 5% of the time in support, 63% in the top, and 32% of the time in mid. She has a 67% win rate out of top and a 57% win rate out of mid, with Dignitas doing the best at 5-0 after week 10 of the LCS. Look at that, I got stats.
She's frustrating. That glitter lance.
Stats on stats.
I don't know.
But yeah,
That's insane.
Whimsy, like you said before, you can't give somebody who has all that utility and is playing as a pokey, farmy champion extra utility on a 1-point wonder. Like, you realize W is a 1-point wonder because all W did was they were only use it for the movement speed. So
now you got to rank it.
Scale.
Yep. In a nutshell.
And something I think we're going to glance over, Glitter Lance's slow decay no longer scales with ability power. That is also giant.
That's huge. Yeah.
Because endgame...
and that more affects top
that's
lane.
That's more a poke at the top AP and the mid lane than the support.
Yep.
Because you don't get that much AP.
Right. Well, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, you can't give extra scaling to somebody who's already scaling with damage. So if you're giving them scaling utility, but they have scaling damage as well, you are making them must pick or ban. And it's unfortunate, but that's what it is.
And even after she got nerfed before, she's still just crushing.
Yeah, we saw that. She's picked ban second, tied with second with 92.75% in the LCS right now.
Yep.
There you go. So Lux, we're gonna move on to her. Passive Illumination now has an ability power ratio. I think we said you gain 40 more damage with 400 ability power if you proc one, which is just a nice quality of life buff, right?
Yep, to help her late game power.
Yeah, not a big deal. We'll go ahead and move on. Vel'Koz, W, Void Rift, missile width actually increased to 80 from 65.
That's actually pretty big because...
Yes, it is.
Because that was pretty big to begin with.
Well, it's also got the second part of the W, which gives you more opportunity to land that.
Right.
No, I agree with you. I've played Vel'Koz and Arams, and I find his W really hard to hit.
Yep.
But then the Lifeform Disintegration Ray is adding 50 range to it, which I think it needs, because it always feels like it's always too short.
It's just there.
Yeah, it's just there, and you can't really hit anybody with it. Like, if you're trying at a turret, I think if you hit a max range, if they're at the turret, then you won't get hit by it, but you got to actually go into turret range to start melting them if they're anywhere behind the turret, so maybe this will help with that. Sieges. That would be nice.
I wonder if that missile width of W being increased will bring back support Vel'Koz. Any thoughts, Wrecker?
I I honestly don't think so.
I mean, I don't like support Vel'Koz, but I'm just curious.
And I mean, like, support Vel'Koz was only really cool because it worked for a little while, and people just figured out, like, just pick something easy into it. Like, Morgana just crushes it.
Sure. So you don't think that makes any difference?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Like,
I wouldn't think so, but I like playing support Vel'Koz, so what do I know?
Me too. I play
just play it anyway.
For fun. I can't see it being well, it was competitive when he first came out. Remember, they brought him out in the LCS and then never again.
Gaming who brought it out?
And I really only think that worked because like it was such an ill-practiced thing at the time.
Right, exactly, because he was so new.
We said the same thing about Galio support when that was busted out early. That was only ever seen once, and it worked because it was a shock value pick.
Yeah. Because like you look at the Vel'Koz when it first started, and it did pretty well, and then like they picked it a few more times, and then people just stopped picking it.
This won't change the support role for him because Void Rift, using that to poke and zone, you're kind of just sneaking your Qs around so you don't mess up the CS of your carry unless you're going full bully. So yeah, I don't see it affecting that too much. Maybe mid lane, it'll come back a little bit more.
Yeah, it'll help with your wave clear a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because you won't have to like necessarily angle yourself out away from your minions against champions, which could then potentially hit skill shots on you.
Yep, I'm gonna play him a little bit more.
That's good. We know you like Vel'Koz and Ziggs, so
I do.
Who doesn't love Ziggs? Actually, I don't have a problem with Vel'Koz. He's just one of those in solo queue, and I think in solo queue and team 5s up to a certain point, he just works fantastically because you don't ever see him. So if somebody, it's one of those it's the Poppy syndrome.
Yeah,
where if you're really good at the champion, you get wrecked by it because you're not used to seeing it. But let's go ahead and move on to Yasuo. Unless we have something.
I was going to say, well, since we talked about Ziggs, we can just mention his quick adjustment. They nerfed his ultimate cooldown to pretty much rank 1 cooldown all across the board, 120 seconds. He needed it because you could just clear top, clear bot. Late in the game, you couldn't push in on him. It was frustrating, even if you were destroying the enemy team. If they had a Ziggs, no, you're going to have to work for it. So
you're still going to have to work for it in late game.
You are
into him, but when
you got 30 more seconds to siege a lane against him now.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say this also hurts his ability to
push.
Yeah, to like or save a lane's turret.
Right.
If you say you blow your ult to save a turret, you're gonna wait a lot longer if the enemy goes to dragon or something.
You got to make smarter decisions on using your ult instead of I'll just clear the minions. It'll be up for a Baron steal.
90 seconds at
with some CDR.
So, you gotta always remember that everything when they have these base cooldowns, right? You bring it up there is they have a CDR. So even 120, even if it's down to 90 seconds at max ranked, it was at 60 seconds before or 70 seconds, meaning it was up anytime people were pushing into your turret, so you couldn't siege. But Yasuo, I think there's some big changes in Yasuo. Passive Way of the Wanderer shield duration is now only 1 second instead of 1.5. And Wind Wall no longer passively grants flow from dashing.
Which is pretty big.
Considering that his way of getting in is dashing through the minions 4 or 5 times, getting a full stack of shield, trading, and then either dashing back out or just running back out as you gain more of your flow. How could you not? How could we never see that this needed to be changed?
Yeah. That does seem a little
that's why
silly.
he was in prison, and that's why you see all those big plays, especially from the highly skilled players over in Korea, where he's 1v4ing people at their turret.
I'll be the first to admit that I didn't read all of his abilities properly, and looking back at what we talked about Yasuo and saying he wasn't going to be all that good, and then watching him just wreck face. Reading abilities helps quite a bit because we would have seen the E chain, the E flow. Dashed.
We were on point with the fact that in skilled hands he was going to be disgusting, but in the average Joe's hands he was going to be bad, and that pretty much held true. So and still does because he takes some skill.
And even seeing Yasuo played a lot, it's still feast or famine. I've seen so many people that are just so bad with him, and then other people just run around playing like, a god.
All right. Yeah, and Steel Tempest now scales less effectively with attack speed and has a minimum cast time of 0.18 seconds. The attack speed needed to reach this minimum is unchanged, though. So I can't really talk about too much with that. Steel Tempest was never. I don't think Steel Tempest was ever the problem, and it was never like you said, feast or famine if you hit it or didn't hit it, because you would always run him with somebody that could engage for his ultimate, and Q was used to engage for the ultimate. You weren't maxing Q ever. No, it was used to get your stack. So I feel like I'm gonna eat that later. Someone's gonna write into this email and be like, that changes. Da, 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 da. And I'm gonna like, fuck.
Well, then maybe we can talk about it.
How. I mean, I realize that change affects him negatively, but I don't see like how that's.
It's gonna be one of those things.
Big negative effect.
Where if you didn't really know, if you didn't play Yasuo that much, you're not really going to notice it as much because most people are going to pick up on a 0.05 second minimum cast change.
That has
and
to,
if you
that
do,
has
you're
to be
probably on like crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Well, crack cocaine and on 20 ping because you're in California.
Yeah, I was about to say that the lower your ping, the more noticeable it'd be. But
and with hand warmers.
Yeah.
God, they all in the hand warmer.
They have
the secret weapon.
That was me snapping my hand warmers for you listening to it on the podcast and then seeing it live.
Should we move on to Graves? Our boy from the cinematic.
Congratulations, Graves. You got buffs. It means nothing.
No,
you can now shoot turrets down with one buckshot. And then they collapse on top of Nautilus and crush him.
Yeah.
That's his buff.
If that was a buff, he would be picked every game.
He's got a Cathian surprise.
Oh, the enemy picked Nautilus. Gotta pick Graves.
Yep.
He's gotta do it.
Well, let's look at the buckshot buff. It says this is gonna tickle. Hitting a target in the face with buckshot deals from 35% to 40% damage for each additional bullet. So he does 5% extra damage for each additional bullet. So if you're really close range, you point blank, hit him with all three before they spread out. You're doing more damage.
I love the flavor text.
We're buffing Graves' ability to shoot people with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So
good.
Base physical damage increased on collateral damage. Same at base. It goes to 400 at rank 2 and 550 at rank 3. If you're not already snowballing by rank 6...
You're having a problem.
Well, there's a problem, but you're only gaining 50 damage at rank 2, and we've said it for a long time, 50 damage can be make or break, but where are you getting that extra bonus damage in this ability in this game right now? I'll clue you in. Nowhere. There is nowhere that he's getting the extra 80 damage that he had before, so he's not going to be good. Like, if you are really good at Graves or understand how to trade well with him, you could do well as one of those, but he's not going to ever see competitive play something in the game.
The buckshot, at least for solo queue, is going to allow people who can be aggro early and potentially get that early kill to get even more in your face when his passive's up and then dump a bunch of extra damage into somebody from point blank. Other than that, it's still Graves.
Yeah, he's still Graves, but I don't know. Late game, 100 damage is nothing to sneeze at.
It's great, but you have to get
his
to late game.
Needs work compared to his competition, obviously. But it's a step in the right direction for him. So
I think the biggest part of this change is the extra 50 damage at the rank 2 rather than the extra 100 damage at rank 3, simply because the mid game is really where Graves starts to kind of go, I wish I had just a little bit more damage.
Right. I wish I had that old bloodthirster.
I tried to make Graves my main marksman just because when the whole Rengar Kha'Zix thing came out, I was like, oh, wow, cool. Aliens versus Predator. And then you see the jailbreak Graves. There's the Space Marine.
Oh, my God.
Sweet. I can play the whole kit.
Space Marine.
So I tried to make him work a lot, but I'm terrible at marksman, so I'm not a good choice for that. But I also play him. I also mess with him. And what they need to do is take his quick draw, his dash, and make it cost 0 mana and maybe remove slows. Never heard something like that.
And he's reset when you land auto.
I love how that's just, something normal for another ADC we've talked about.
Right.
And Graves hasn't seen any major change to his kit in forever.
Right, then they do this. Well, since we're talking about the dash and what I just mentioned, that can transition into Lucian, where his Relentless Pursuit, which is his little dash that he can do 1,000,000 times now, they removed its ability to remove slows. So if Nasus withers you and you decide, I'm going to relentless pursuit, you're still withered. So
I don't like this change because I like that part of his kit. I just wish they would have made it so it only removed the first slow until there's no combat in the game, and until you're out of combat, or removes the first slow and subsequent slows can't remove for 20 seconds. I don't know. Like, I wish they would have just allowed you to continue to remove that. It may have still made him, super powerful, and it probably it would have made him super powerful, but I like that piece of his kit because he's a dashing, cannot be slowed, cannot be CC'd type of champion that has really short range.
Well, if you dash over terrain, it's not going to matter if you're slowed anyway. If you use it in that kind of respect, you got to use it more. You got to use it differently. Now, instead of I'm just going to orb walk with my E. Now you have to use it a little bit.
The problem
better.
I had with it before this was like the Claude said, now you have to use it differently. And before, you didn't even have to think about how you're going to use it. You just used it because you're going to have it again.
Yeah.
I can just use my escape because I'll be able to use my escape again. And then if I get caught after escape, I could just fuck it. I'll do it again.
It makes Nasus the complete and total counter to him. If you can get a Nasus in the game, because Nasus's wither is 450 range and Lucian's range is 500, and I'm gonna say the majority of the players in League of Legends cannot tell ranges or have any idea what 500 and 450 are.
Or if that Lucian, if he stops for half a second to auto, he's gonna be in range anyway. So,
and he's so strong. Is it really that bad to introduce a counter to him?
No,
especially a champion, which is
I think it's funny
Nasus.
that Nasus had a huge issue with him because of that dash chain, like the original dash. You used to pick Lucian if the enemy team picked Nasus.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Now it's the complete opposite. Now the dog's gonna be smashing his face.
Really, just pick Lucian because he's Lucian, not because the enemy team has Nasus.
All right, guys, we need to get super excited about Jinx because passive get excited is Jinx now gets excited when she contributes to killing an inhibitor.
Wow. Yay, quality of life change.
You said it in all caps. Yeah. Good job.
I know. I tried to scream it. I was going to be like, inhibitor.
Definitely. I mean, that's really helpful for if you're in that last second scenario where the enemy team's resin and you're just trying to get those last couple hits on the inhibitor and get out. Other than that, that's just kind of whatever.
It needed it though. Why were you killing an inhibitor and not getting excited?
It totally did.
Yeah, why wouldn't you get excited about killing pretty much the best target you can have leading to the game? Why would you be whatever? I killed an inhibitor. Fuck it. A tower!
That's the very first time that she came out. I said she needs to be excited when she kills an inhibitor, and it only took Riot a year to make the change. But congratulations, Riot.
They did it.
Did it.
Kog'Maw changes. I just accidentally clicked and went away from them, and I'm going back. Somebody, Kog'Maw.
His base health was reduced from 524 to 487, and his health per level was increased from 84 to 87. So he gets 3 more health every level. And
breaks even at level 11 or 12, if I remember correctly.
40, so 37 less health total. So
it brings him in line with hyper carries like Tristana. Tristana starts with 450 or 460 base health, if I remember correctly. And him starting at 424 was a product of the past when he didn't have Caustic Spittle as a skill shot and couldn't trade equally in lane because of the extra damage.
Yeah, that's the thing, is he just kind of became this huge lane bully where Kog'Maw used to be this champion that if you picked him, you would just be oh, it's Kog'Maw, we'll just win our lane. Yeah. And then transition that into winning the game. But now it's Kog'Maw's the strong fucking laner because
Caustic Spittle's a skill shot and reduces armor magic resist, which has been significantly
changed. Oh, yeah.
20 at max rank originally, 12% now.
They almost halved it early.
You know what's funny?
It stays the same at max rank, but it's a hit to his early game.
Kog'Maw's strength, he's a hyper carry. So right now, pre this patch, his strength was in his scaling in his late game. And I guess you could say the best time to try to stop him is early game because that's where he was weakest. And here they're weakening his early game even more. So, but they're not really touching his late game hyper. So he's still able to scale into this disgusting monster that you can build your entire comp around protecting. But early game, you have more of a chance to shut him down.
Yeah, and that's really like what the trade-off with Kog'Maw always had been, as like your weaker early game, so that you're a monster late game. And who knows? Maybe people will start picking Graves into him again, because that used to be like the pick against Kog'Maw.
Yeah, right.
Why not? Graves just got a buff. Kog'Maw just got a nerf. It's gonna happen.
Sivir changes are on the hunt. Initial movement speed from 234 to 246. Just life changes. Nothing really to sit there and laminate on anyway. She sucks because BT sucks. Tristana rocket dump changes W 2.5 seconds at all rank to 1 slow duration. Sorry, slow duration from 2.5 at all rank to 1.5 2 2.53 needed because you never level W.
It hit her all in.
It's the Lulu thing. It's the Lulu syndrome.
1 point, you're good. Yep.
Now 1 point, it's using escape. It's using engaged early, and you can't get that extra slow late.
And you still get the reset, which is the biggest part of that ability.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Explosive shot, active magic damage from 110 down to 80 at early, 150, 125, and it kind of scales from there.
Scales up a little bit.
The early needed it because at rank, or between levels 1 and 6, you could really harass people out of lane if you tried not to push very hard with as you ranked up explosive shot. And it also has a healing reduction on E.
Yep.
So it did too much damage for the utility it gave.
And it's magic damage, and you're building armor against the carry, and it's doing magic damage, so that means jack squat. So
yeah, and that's the same type of thing as like with Kog'Maw, where she's just as strong as she gets late.
Yeah, so I think these are good. I actually like the direction with these changes on Tristana. They didn't really hurt her late at all. They made it a little bit better with rocket jump and explosive shot. 10 less damage on its active. So what?
And at that point, you're just like auto attacking for all your damage anyway.
Yep, exactly. At that point, you're so disgusting that everyone fears and respects you. So
yeah, it's all auto attack damage. You don't need scaling because you don't use any of your abilities. You just use Q and gain tons of attack speed and mow people down.
So again, Riot supporting the play.
Down.
Stop these hyper carries early if you can.
Well,
don't let them get scary.
They're working on it. Varus Chain of Corruption now has reduced cooldown. I don't think we need to sit too long on that. Just kind of a quality of life change, considering they changed BT and make him a little more playable. He still sucks dick. Vayne,
nope,
though.
That's not even true. Varus is OP as fuck.
Fuck off.
I like
Vayne.
Varus.
Let's talk. We're moving on to Vayne. Vayne, overpowered as fuck right now. Vayne is Freelo. I'm telling you, Vayne is Freelo right now. Attack speed per level increased to 4 from 3.1. Plus, they fixed final hour to do more damage.
Why did they do that?
Because
buffs.
This is
Why did they make her
ridiculous.
more of a hyper carry? And
Because they're trying to bring her back for Worlds.
Because they want double lift. They want CLG.
double lift.
They want double lift going.
You give the character who needs attack speed to do damage with their W more attack speed.
This is
Almost
Monty pulling out his
25%
green
more
currency
attack
and
speed
slipping
per
it under
level.
Riot's door and saying, Want to do something like this?
Thank you, base CLG.
Thank you very much.
So they just gave her a ton of bonus damage.
But they
Bonus attack damage while using your ult.
They fixed final hour is what it was. Tumble used to add a ton of extra attack damage. Now you pop R and you gain all that attack damage instead of tumbling to get it. So you get it right off the bat. You don't even have to tumble.
And it applies to auto attacks rather than just the ability.
Yeah, no.
She's almost as good as Varus now after the Varus change.
If you can position yourself and understand how to use tumble, Vayne is Freelo. If you're worried about that, so yeah.
So if you're already good at playing hyper carries, Vayne isn't going to be an easier hyper carry.
I am only
for you to hyper
halfway
carry
through
with.
this document, and we are an hour into the podcast. All right, we're going to continue going. Braum.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's a big patch.
Are we going to do Sona?
No. We're gonna wait for Dom to play Sona.
I was going to say, we're hitting. Should we wait for all the supports since we're?
No, we can talk.
I mean, we did just hit an hour.
Yeah, we hit our arrow and wait for Dom because I think he would really like to weigh in on this.
Well, he doesn't play Braum. He plays Nami. He doesn't play Thresh. We did talk Thresh.
I like to talk about Braum because I love Braum.
Yeah, Braum is fine. Let's do Braum, and we already talked about Janna. We had a long conversation about that. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk Braum. Passive concussive blows base magic damage is reduced to 32 plus 8 times the level rather than 38 plus 12 times the level.
I've told you over and over again how OP that damage is, and you never believe me. You never fucking believe me, ever.
What? I've always said it was his passive. His passive is the OP part of Braum.
Yeah, but you always say that the OP part of Braum is passive just because you can stack the stun, and I've always told you that damage is ridiculous at early levels. It's crazy.
Dom said the reason he never played Braum is because he's always banned. So maybe he'll come out of banned prison and Dom will play him a little bit more.
I don't even see that banned.
So there is a silver lining to this.
This just changes his laning phase completely too, because W stand behind me going to 50 mana. We talked about this earlier in the podcast. 50 mana is a lot to jump
huge.
to somebody.
It's almost twice as much as it was before. Almost.
Almost.
They're hitting his early game, yeah.
Yeah, completely. He just can't be spammed. He has to be skilled hands. You have to make skilled decisions. And I don't have a problem with that with bottom lane champions where they need to be skilled to play properly. You shouldn't just roll your face.
Now just literally stand in front of your carry the whole time instead of having to hit W to get to him.
Instead of stand your W to get behind them or stand behind them.
And with Braum, it's like he's one of those champions where you can kind of do well, but if you know what the enemy is going to do and you know to do your abilities before they get theirs off, you can do exceptionally well. And this is going to hurt that because now you can bait out his mana and make him waste some mana.
Oh, and it's going to be big because that's 20 mana. I want to say Q is 35 mana, 30 mana to cast. So if you're baiting out 20 mana of it,
something like that.
Yeah, it's low. It's stupid low. It's like okay, it's not 25. It's like 30 or 35 mana, but still, it's low enough where if you're eating 20 mana by somebody stand behind me, you're not gonna have the mana to Q.
No, his Winter's Bite is actually higher. It's 55 mana.
Is it really that high? I thought it was lower. I guess stand behind me was the low one then.
It was lower, and then they changed it, I don't know, like 2 or 3 patches ago to make it higher.
But the cooldown was way lower, so you spammed it more, So. Right. But 55 is still,
Well, it brings it brings the W in line.
I'd myself a lot just because I'd spam like a motherfucker on him, and I'd go and realize, crap.
Oh, I need my Alice
Damn it.
page. All right, Glacial Fissure. First target knockup duration is now 1 second from 1.5. It scales with level, so it goes 1, 1 and a quarter, 1.5. Slow though, it goes 40, 50, 60. And when an enemy leaves Glacial Fissure's field of ice, they'll continue to be slowed for 0.25 seconds from 1.5. Giant nerfs across the board to this ability.
Yep.
Needed it. That ability just alone could win team fights. It needed
if it
some
brings
kind
him
of
out of banned prison. I still love. They didn't touch his E, which is his signature move. His passive was the thing that you just abused because that's like Rekka was saying. The damage on it was insane. So I don't know. I'll still play him. I'll play him probably more now because he's not going to be banned as much.
Sure. Well, I think he'll still be banned because he's still going to be banned because he's Braum and people are going to think he's OP. But then people are going to. It's going to take. I'm going to say 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks for people to realize that he's not as overpowered as he was before. It's going to take skilled hands to use him properly. Glacial Fissure now in the bottom lane, not having that in slow duration as long is going to make the difference in fights. Like once you got hit by that, you weren't getting out of a fight.
That was it. You either had to win or lose the fight. you pick.
Right. What do you want to do? Other supports got touched for just buffs. There was a lot of little buffs. Nami's ebb and flow goes to 10 seconds from 9. Just quality of life, or not quality of life. Quality of life for everybody else. It just makes it so you can't heal.
Nami was nerfed.
Yeah, Nami got a nerf.
Thresh, Dark Passage, only shields the first person. You can't shield an entire group. I think Dom brought a really good point up in 180, where that's an Ardent Sensor change. Mm-hmm. So you can't build Ardent Sensor on Thresh and give everybody the attack speed.
Right. Now the box changed, though, where it doesn't do additional damage for every additional wall you break, but it'll continue to stack the slow. So you can, if you're the tanky champion, even if you're not that tanky, you break the one, you might as well break the rest of them if you don't need to worry about chasing.
I think that change is fine. I didn't like the fact that you eat a box and get flayed into the second one for double damage from a support.
Right. Yeah.
My AP Thresh does not like that change.
Yeah, my lane Thresh.
He's crying.
He's crying hard.
Jungle Thresh.
Other changes in this patch that we should touch on before it ends is Greater Stealth Totem. I don't think anybody ever upgrades the Greater Stealth Totem, but the cooldown has been touched by 30 seconds. It's now a 90-second cooldown. Worth upgrading to now.
Right, and it lasts 120 seconds still? Or longer?
It lasts the full duration, 3 minutes.
Like a regular
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Wow. So, that's good. That's actually really good.
Though. Frostfang, which is the tier 2 of that item, has from 4 gold to 2 gold per 10 seconds, and Frost Queen's Claim is 2 gold and not 4. So the amount of gold that you gave a support who already didn't get that much gold is reduced.
However, that item compared to the other items, because of the amount of gold you can get from harassing, is crazy and needed that.
Oh yeah,
especially on
Morgani,
Morg.
just put your poop on the ground and boom,
Yeah.
you get gold.
Yep, all 3 stats.
Zyra,
instantly.
one plant can just get them all. Hit them with the spell, and the plant hits them twice. That's all 3 right there.
Now, here's a tip for people playing against a harassy type support with this, what is it, Spell Thief's Edge.
Yep.
You know they're going to be coming in to try to harass you with those abilities, so use that knowledge to either counter harass or kite into running a little bit too far, maybe get a couple hits. So
I
like to do that.
I want to go back. I want Dom or Daze on this podcast to really touch on it. I know Wrecker can, but Wrecker, you haven't really been playing as much support recently as you have.
No, I haven't been playing much support at all lately.
So I'm gonna. Any of you guys who are really looking forward to the Frostfang Nomad's Medallion changes, I think we're gonna touch on those again when Dom gets back. Because
Yeah, I just noticed that actually, and I was like, "Holy crap! Nomad's Medallion plus 10 movement speed. That is great on things like Leona and Dom's Alistar. I'm sure, I'm sure Dom's gonna love that.
Yeah, he loves Alistar roaming support, so this this screams Dom.
So we'll come back and touch on those on episode 183, just because I think we're going to do like a recap of 4.13 again, just to kind of get some of his opinions as well, because
Still a lot we didn't touch. So
he plays sport. Well, we'll continue here. Deathfire Grasp, 60 to 90 seconds. It's going to be really interesting if people continue to rush Deathfire Grasp with that change. I don't think people will rush this item anymore. I think this will be a 4th or 5th item at this point because you can't use it as often early game like you could in Ultimate. If you get it early, you can no longer use it in every team fight at 90 seconds rather than 60. And it doesn't get affected by cooldown reduction.
But if you're like me and you just never use it anyway, then you might as well.
Then whatever.
Why do you rush it? Why don't you rush something else that would give you passive abilities?
Because I am fucking dumb.
I find this interesting because they pretty much buffed assassins with the other item changes and the exhaust change we'll talk about, and they nerf assassins with this one, the AP assassins. So probably because with those buffs, this would be a little bit too much to keep where it's at right now for champions like Syndra.
It's just
Blanc.
I bet people don't touch Deathfire Grasp anymore competitively. I bet you Syndra, Elise, etc. doesn't ever buy Deathfire Grasp
your cap
early
first.
again. They'll get Athenes first and then continue to focus on utility instead.
Probably.
Did you say
But
Elise?
Elise actually has been played out of the top lane a little bit, but
Okay.
Yeah, she has, which I don't get.
I mean, that's fine.
because you
but
can build 2
no.
Deathfire Grasp and blow an AD carry up.
Right.
Because you have a guaranteed Deathfire Grasp on the AD carry who gets caught by one of the persons with utility. That's why.
What you're hoping for.
Right.
What about Riley's Crystal Scepter, Adam? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Ability power has been increased to 100, but the health has been reduced. I like it because I don't think enough players pick up Riley's, or if they do, they pick up on the wrong characters. Someone like Lysandra can't really use Riley's. I'm thinking more of like Singed will like this buff quite a bit. Ziggs.
It makes it better on Vlad too.
Yeah,
I was going to mention Vlad
it's
just because he always gets Lysandras.
It's a quality of life thing to make it more tempting to buy when you need health on an AD or an ADP carry that needs to do damage as well. So now you have
100
an item
damage
to
is
build.
good.
Oh, it's
Isn't
huge.
that what Zonia's has?
Yeah, Zonia's and Death Cap is 40% plus.
It's a
60.
non-needlessly large rod item that
Big
has
item,
But
the needlessly large rod type damage. So
I see Riley's being picked up more often now because of that 20 damage increase.
Oh yeah.
pretty big.
Especially with the utility meta that we're in. Because speaking of Banshee's Veil, 25 to 40 seconds now. 40 seconds it takes for that shield to come back up. Best change out of this entire fucking patch.
I'm curious if you think Rise would pick up the Rylai's.
You know what? I bet. You know what? I think he might.
Because I was just thinking like a Rod of Ages, Rylai's Rise.
You're
That's
going to
pretty
see
tanky right there.
Yeah,
see
it's gonna
Rod
be a
of
big
Ages.
rise.
You're still going to see Rod of Ages tier because of the mana scaling, but I don't.
Right.
I bet you Riley's will still get picked on him.
Like a
Mal's
5th or 6th item.
Mal's to synergize with the Lysandres and the Rod of Ages.
Mal's would be a great pick for that, actually.
That'd be an awesome item. I can't wait to try it on Mal's.
Well, what Banshee's Veil? Yes, that needed to be changed. Like, why was it ever 25 seconds in the past?
It did. It was always up. It's like, okay, I messed up my rotation. It's another assassin buff thing. So I lost an ability in my all-in, so I didn't actually kill you. And now I waited for it to cool down, and it's up again. Son of a bitch.
It was one, and it's also one of those engaging things. Like, okay, I knocked his Banshee's Veil off. I have 25 seconds, but it usually takes about 35 seconds to be able to engage after you knock something around off of somebody. Yeah. So that's like the 40 seconds is the perfect amount of time to give both players a chance to engage.
Yep. I like it.
Right.
Chalice of Harmony, they just took another 5 magic resist off it, so they keep chunking off its defensive stat.
That's why we're going to see more Syndra, Zareth, Orianna, anybody with range and utility, Zillion. Zillion's huge.
Fizz is just getting better and better.
And Fizz, that's right. And Fizz to counter all of them. And one fish to rule them all.
Again, bringing him back for Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's no Trinity Force buff. We kept saying it all year. Trinity Force buffs.
There's still time.
There's still time. Sneak it in. Next week, we're gonna find out Trinity Force secretly got buffed, stealth buff in there.
We talked heal and exhaust, so that makes barrier better for solo laters. I think you're too greedy if you take heal now. If you don't take heal in the bottom lane as an AD carry, I think you're too greedy. Because that speed boost is too much to give your entire team to reposition, or to give your bot lane. You give yourself and your bot lane to reposition.
Mostly just yourself. I mean, really, you don't even need to take this consideration that your team gets some speed boost on that.
Yeah, to rebuild, yeah. And exhaust now shreds 10 of the target's armor and magic resist and has the damage reduction to 40% instead of 50%. That's one of those.
They want to use it offensively more than defensively now, I guess.
Yep.
Yes. Support's going to be picking that up.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, AD carries just got better. I don't know much to say about it.
I'll still use it. Buffs. If I pick Ziggs and they counterpick me with Zed or something, I'll still grab exhaust. Nothing like seeing that ult hit me and then he comes out of it and I hit exhaust and then.
Well, you can, but now with the 10 armor and magic reduction reduce.
I can do something. Right.
You can do something to him while he is not doing damage to you.
Right. And 10% is still, it's pretty big. It'll do a lot more damage with that, but you can return some of that. So it makes for more exciting play. Again, preparing for Worlds.
Well put. I feel like we rushed through this last half of these patch notes here.
We did.
We're like, oh, it's been an hour. Let's go.
Well, people get all pissy at me. They're like, why don't you go for more than an hour? Well, why don't you try to do a podcast for an hour without a break? If you listen to the radio, they go on a break every 20 minutes, okay? That's why. It sucks.
I know, man. I've got a turtle head poking out. Woo.
I need to go get level 60, so let's go.
Oh,
all
God.
right. Guys.
Oh, my God.
I told you, I'm taking a break from WoW until Sunday.
Wow.
Playing on Sunday.
League.
Whatever. Playing WoW until Sunday.
Yep, that's all he'll be doing.
My beer is clear, by the way. Just letting you guys know. Look how clear. Look at my face.
Is that your clone?
No, this is a different one. All right, guys, you listen to episode number 182 of the podcast. Is that where we're at?
Sounds about it's 182.
Yeah,
it is now. If it is
181 and 3.1. Your title's totally whacked, but
episode 181.314.
Yep.
Oh, I have to say episode 181. I didn't realize.
It's 182. Whatever.
It's reverse 3.14 patch discussion.
Guys, we're going to come back next week. I promise. Do not email us. I swear to God, we're going to touch patch 3.14 again on Monday. We're going to go over the little finer details that we didn't get to this week. We just like to keep the podcast to an hour to make it nice and condensed. I love you all. Please go check out the Super Week discussion on the LCS Rundown. That is episode 182 of the Trinity Force podcast. We will see you very much all on Monday.
See ya.
Bye.
I won't see you all Monday.